Good afternoon, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, my thoughts are all about spirituality, and of course, part of it is because of a lecture or a course I'll be presenting soon. But it's such a big part of my practice, and I would love for us to discuss spirituality openly. And, theologians will talk about spirituality, religious leaders, gurus will talk about spirituality. Many people read about spirituality, some people feel spiritual, but what is this spirituality that we're talking about? I can tell you for myself, I'm always intrigued by the idea that spirituality has always been talked about as part of medicine in terms of health, right? So, in health, when we're looking at people's health, we talk about the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual. And it's interesting to me to see that medicine, including natural medicine, has moved farther and farther away from spirituality. So it's almost, we know that it's pretty politically incorrect these days to ask someone's religion, especially in healthcare. It's just not politically correct to ask anymore, right? But some people just automatically talk about, oh, I feel pretty spiritual, or I feel I've lost my spirituality, or those sorts of things that a client might say this. And we might notice this in conversation with each other too, because again, we've become very careful about the words that we choose and how we speak with each other, what we ask each other, or what we open up about with people, because there's less trust and less feelings of safety to be able to express our true thoughts, right? But many people have heard this quotation. I thought I'd share it with you to begin this video. This one says, "We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience." And this is so important. Again, a lot of people have heard this, and many people think about it temporarily, and then they forget who we are because we often have been trained to go into the human experience, right? So, what are we doing? Like, we think about, I got to eat, so I can think about my human experience of hunger. I can think about, I've got to get to this. I can think about my human experience of action. I have to get this done. I can think of responsibilities. I can think about my mind, and that thinks about maybe emotions or thoughts or experiences in different ways. And yet, do we make sure that we're understanding we're spiritual beings having these human experiences? That brings me to things like meditation and mindfulness, because unless we're understanding who is it that's thinking these things, is acting this way, is behaving this way, are we coming from our human experience side, or are we coming from that spiritual experience? And that I leave with you to think about or ponder on today, and just reflect about how you are experiencing your life. In terms of spirituality, I think it's again very important to me in terms of, I believe it affects all of us. And some people are consciously aware, some people are unaware, some people do not want to hear the word spirituality because they link it very much with religion. And religion and spirituality are actually quite different. But I thought I would also mention this quotation because it certainly matches my experience. And I think probably a lot of people out there will understand this too. So this says, it's a quote by Wallace Huey, and it says, "To walk the spiritual path is to continually step out into the unknown." To walk the spiritual path is to continually step out into the unknown. And the unknown is what our mind does not like, right? So we kind of like things that are familiar and safe and comfortable. And yet the unknown has these beautiful experiences, and it's more real than what the unconscious living that we see around us often teaches us. Yet, many people are not aware of the unconscious living. What is the unconscious living? People are so perhaps considerate to the people that they work with, and at least verbally, maybe not in their mind, which is again kind of that unconscious space that, wow, they speak really nicely, but they're not thinking nice thoughts. And only a person would know that themselves if they do a bit of self reflection. Or someone is really a great person at work and is really hardworking at work, and they get home and they're super lazy. And this happens for many people, right? Because we're expending so much energy into the responsibilities that when even responsibilities come up at home, many people don't have the energy for it. And the biggest responsibility we have is to each other and to share a kindness, compassion, a love, a sincerity, a space of integrity, right? And yet, often people won't put the most effort and intention into that energy because it doesn't seem like it's bringing back anything, at least noticeable for a lot of people. It's like, I'm nice to everyone and yet no one's nice to me, right? That sort of feeling. And that gets people into a victim mode. It also feels like somewhere that people don't want to go because they might be taken advantage of. Maybe they're seen as vulnerable or weak, right? And today I'd love for you to think about that too, because where are your priorities in how you conduct your thoughts, your words, and your actions? And then finally, I thought this was a really great quotation that I came to that I thought really opens up this idea of meditation or prayer and why it's so useful. So, this is by Stephen Richards, and it says, when you connect to the silence within you, that is when you can make sense of the disturbance going on around you. When you connect to the silence within you, that is when you can make sense of the disturbance going on around you. And this is interesting, right? Because a lot of people don't make time and space for this, but that space for meditation or prayer or just silence, period, no thought in that time, right? There's no thought, there's no seeking, there's no, I need this. Although a lot of people with prayer will say, I need to get this. So God, here I'm making a deal with you. Let's negotiate, right? That sort of idea, not saying it necessarily that way, but, I need more money or I need more love or I need more relationships. I need more friendships. I need more, whatever it is, right? It's the request. It's like people who write Christmas lists to Santa, right? These are my lists of what I need and would like, and I'm ready to receive that, right? So a lot of people do that in prayer in a different sort of way. And of course, very nice for people to be outside of themselves in terms of I'm putting this into the energy of the universe. This is what I'm requesting. This is what my intention is to achieve. This is a very different self-empowered space than the space of, I hope this will be thrown in my lap, because that doesn't often happen, right? So this is spirituality. So when we think about spirituality and we think about it in healing and healthcare, I'd love for us to start getting more comfortable with talking about it openly again, because again, even when I was at McMaster University, it was a very common discussion to include spiritual aspect as part of health. And yet, when we're actually in practice, even when we're writing our notes, and you might know this if you're a healthcare professional, we don't really write about spirituality. This is how my assessment of this person's spirituality is, because really, we even pulled away from that unless there's some research about this is how you respond to this. When a patient says this is what you say to respond to it. We've moved away from that. So we've moved away from being healthcare providers that can use our own awareness to help the people that we're helping. And we've moved into, if it's written, then it's legal, and that's why I can tell you this. If I tell you that, wow, I'm really glad that you've got that spiritual connection, that might be the biggest thing that I say to you. But I might never go there because I think, oh, you know what if this client says, well, I think they're really religious because they said I'm spiritual, right? That sort of idea. So, and of course, we've become very highly oversensitized to these sorts of words and forgetting the value of this in healing. It's really, really useful and important to remember this. And, actually, I do have one more quotation that I wanted to share with you. And again, hopefully this doesn't bring an onslaught of comments. It's a thought that I really do feel strongly about. I think it really matches what has happened if we really sit and quiet our minds to see what is happening in the world of spirituality or religion. Maybe this will help shed some light on what has occurred and what we are experiencing now and why. So this quotation says, spirituality does not come from religion. It comes from our soul. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules, regulations, and rituals created by humans, which were supposed to help people spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original as given by the Most High. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. Now, whatever you think of as the Most High, I think the biggest thing about this statement is the Most High is something outside of ourselves and part of ourselves too, right? So this Most High, people can think of the higher self, and people can think of God or think of the universe, but this is a space that's beyond our normal human thinking. And our normal human thinking is very mind specific. When we get out of our mind in terms of moving into a space of, let's say, meditation or just opening up a space for that reflection, we move to a higher space. We are more in union with each other, no matter what religion. We're in connection with the souls of others, and we're in awareness of our own souls too. So this is how spirituality, or being aware of this spiritual essence, helps us in terms of connecting with each other, and certainly in gaining a strength that is not possible by just thinking about whether the right medication to take, the right vaccine to get, the right number of hours to sleep, the right foods to eat. All of that is useful. Yet, what's even more useful is our connection with our spirituality. That's my bias. I've said it. And I think this is a spot that I'd really love for us to start remembering because it's quite powerful. I leave you with those thoughts, and I hope that you enjoy reflecting on them for at least 5 minutes after this video. I wish you a fantastic day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone.